I never thought I'd be the villain in someone else's wedding story, but there I was staring at my F in disbelief as my cousin David's text message glowed mockingly on the screen. "Sorry, Emma, but Vanessa and I have decided to keep the wedding intimate and photogenic. We'll send you pictures." Photogenic, that single word felt like a slap across my scared face. Let me back up. I'm Emma Taylor, 34. A successful real estate attorney with a facial scar from a car accident that happened when I was 16. The scar runs from my right temple to my jaw, a permanent reminder of the day I lost both my parents. My Aunt Catherine and Uncle Robert took me in afterward, raising me alongside my cousin David like I was their own. Over the years, I'd learned to embrace my scar as part of who I am. It didn't stop me from building a successful law practice, having meaningful relationships, or living a full life. But now apparently it made me too unsightly for my own cousin's wedding photos. The wedding that I was paying for it had started 6 months ago during our usual Sunday family dinner. David and his fiancée Vanessa had just announced their engagement, and everyone was celebrating. Vanessa, a social media influencer with a modest following, was already talking about her dream wedding. "We want something really special," she said, scrolling through Pinterest boards on her phone like a fairy tale. "You know, but venues like that are so expensive." I caught the hint in her voice, seeing the way she glanced at me, the successful lawyer in the family. And because I love David like a brother, because I was grateful to his parents for taking me in all those years ago, I made an offer that I now regretted with every fiber of my being. "I'd like to help," I said, reaching for my checkbook. "Consider it my wedding gift to you." Both the amount we'd agree on was $50,000, a significant sum, but manageable given my income. David had hugged me, tight tears in his eyes. "You're the best, Emma, like a sister to me, always, always," until his fans had decided I'd ruin their wedding aesthetic. I scroll through my text history with David, looking for the moment when everything changed. The enthusiastic messages about venue, visits, the excited updates about flower arrangements, the long discussion about the perfect band. Then, 3 weeks ago, the tone shifted. "Vanessa's really stressed about the wedding photos. We're trying to keep a certain look for the social media coverage. Maybe you could help in other ways behind the scenes." I should have seen it coming. Vanessa had been slowly edging me out of the wedding planning, making excuses for why I shouldn't attend cake tastings or venue visits. "Oh, it's just going to be family," she'd say, apparently forgetting that I was family. Now sitting in my home office, surrounded by legal documents from other people's property disputes, I felt a different kind of property dispute brewing. I pulled up my banking records, documenting every payment I'd made for their fairy tale wedding. Asteris venue deposit $115,000, Asteris catering, advance $112,000, Asterisk floral arrangements, $88,000, Asterisk band booking $5,000, Asterisk miscellaneous deposits $10,000. I'll pay for my personal account, all meticulously documented because being thorough was both my profession and my nature. But it was another document that really caught my attention, one that Vanessa had asked me to help with because of my legal expertise. "The marriage license application, could you look this over?" she asked last week, forwarding me the completed form, just to make sure everything's perfect. I open the file now, scanning through it with new eyes. That's when I noticed something interesting, something that my heartbreak and hurt had almost made me miss. Vanessa had filled out the application using her full legal name, Vanessa Marie Winters. But I happen to know that isn't her legal name at all. 2 years ago, when she first started dating David, I'd helped her with some paperwork for her social media business. Her legal name was Vanessa Marie Williamson. She'd been married before a brief union in her early 20s that she'd had annulled, but she never legally changed her name back. I pulled up the state's marriage license requirements. There it was in clear legal language. All applications must be completed using current legal names. Providing false information on marriage license application constitutes perjury under state law. My phone buzzed again. Another text from David. "You understand, right? It's Vanessa's special day and she's really particular about the photos. We still love you." I set the phone down and opened my laptop with practiced efficiency. I began documenting everything, the payments, the texts, the emails. Then I drafted a letter to the county clerk's office regarding a potentially fraudulent marriage license application. My hands were shaking, but not from anger anymore. A strange calm had settled over me as I worked, the same calm I felt before presenting a major case in court. Because this wasn't about revenge. This was about truth, about consequences, about learning that you can't take people's money and throw away their dignity. I was just getting started when my Aunt Catherine called Emma sweetheart. She began, her voice tentative. "David told me about the situation. I'm sure they don't mean to hurt you, Aunt Catherine." I interrupted gently. "Did you know they're planning to announce their engagement at the River Oaks Country Club tomorrow night? Big party, all their social media friends, very exclusive, yes. And did you know that the country club's main investor is Gerald Harrison?" "What does that have to do with anything?" I smiled, though she couldn't see it. "Gerald is one of my biggest clients. I helped him acquire that property last year. In fact, I'm having lunch with him tomorrow to discuss some new acquisitions." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Emma," my aunt say finally, "what are you planning?" "Nothing, Aunt Catherine. I'm just making sure everyone has all the correct information to make informed decisions. It's what I do for a living after all, after hanging up." I spent another hour organizing my documentation. The wedding was still 2 months away. A lot could happen in 2 months, my phone. Buzz one more time. Vanessa had posted a new Instagram story there. She was trying on her designer wedding dress in a boutique mirror. The caption read, "Can't wait for the perfect wedding with the perfect photos number, bliss number, brio number, no filter needed." I looked at my reflection in my office window, at the scar that had been part of me longer than it hadn't. Then I looked at the carefully organized documents on my desk, no filter needed. I whispered just the unvarnished truth. The River Oaks Country Club was lit up like a fairy tale castle the next evening, exactly the kind of venue Vanessa had chosen for her wedding. I sat across from Gerald Harrison in the main dining room, perfectly positioned to see the private room where the engagement party would soon begin. "Emma, this acquisition proposal is excellent," Gerald said, reviewing the documents I brought. "But I get the feeling there's something else on your mind." I smiled, touching my scar absently. "Actually, Gerald, there is. What's your policy on fraudulent membership applications?" His eyebrows shot up at River Oaks. "Zero tolerance." Why, I slid another folder across the table because Vanessa Winters, who's hosting an engagement party here tonight, isn't legally Vanessa Winters, and she listed herself as such on her membership application. Gerald frowned, opening the folder. "The social media influencer. She's been all over the club's Instagram lately." "Yes, but her legal name is Vanessa Williams. She's still technically married, though. She had it annulled. Never completed the legal name change back." As Gerald reviewed the documentation, I watched the party guests arriving through the glass doors, all perfectly groomed, all impeccably dressed, all Instagram ready. Vanessa had cultivated her following by presenting an image of flawless luxury. And her engagement party was clearly meant to maintain that illusion. "This is concerning," Gerald said finally, "very concerning the club's reputation. I thought you should know," I said quietly, "especially since she's planning to live stream the engagement announcement to her followers in about," I checked my watched 20 minutes. What happened next was like watching dominoes fall in perfect sequence. First, Gerald made a phone call to the club's legal team. Then, just as Vanessa was setting up her phone for the live stream, the club's manager appeared in the private room, even through the glass. I could see the color drain from her face as he spoke to her. David appeared at her side, looking confused. More club officials arrived. Voices were raised, phones came out. The perfectly orchestrated evening began to unravel my own. Phone. Buzzed. Aunt Catherine. "Emma." "What's happening?" "David just called in. A panic, I suspect." I replied calmly that Vanessa is discovering there are consequences to lying on official documents. The scene in the private room was reaching the crescendo. Vanessa was gesturing wildly, her designer dress catching the light. David looked. Shell-shocked, their guests were starting to whisper among themselves, phones discreetly recording everything. Then Vanessa did exactly what I'd expected. She went live on Instagram anyway, trying to control the narrative. but her tearful explanation about a misunderstanding was quickly overshadowed by the arrival of another unexpected guest. James Williamson walked into the club like he owned it, which wasn't far from the truth. His family was old money, and his action to Vanessa was older than she liked to admit. "Hello, Vanessa," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear, or should I say, Mrs. Williamson, funny thing. "I never got those annulment papers you claimed you filed. The Instagram live fee cut off abruptly. I sipped my water and watched the chaos unfold." Gerald Harrison had moved to damage control mode, speaking with club members to assure them the situation would be handled appropriately. David stood frozen, looking between Vanessa and James, like he was watching a tennis match in hell. Then my cousin spotted me through the glass, our eyes met, and I saw the exact moment, understanding dawn on his face. He walked out of the private room and came to my table. "You knew," he said. "It wasn't a question I knew. I confirmed because I'm a lawyer who does her research, something you might have considered before uninviting the person who paid for your wedding. Because of how she looks in photos." Emma Iggy collapsed into a chair. "I'm so sorry I let her convince me. I didn't stand up for you." "No," I agreed. You didn't stand up for me when she started excluding me from wedding planning, or when she made comments about my scar at family dinners, or when she suggested I wear a mask to your engagement photos. What?" Gerald Harrison interjected, reminding us of his presence. "She suggested what?" I turned to my client. "Gerald, meet my cousin David. He's learning some expensive lessons about character." Tonight the private room had largely emptied by now. Vanessa was having what appeared to be an intense discussion with James Williamson and a club's legal team. Her perfect makeup was streaked with tears, her designer dressed slightly askew the wedding venue. David said suddenly, "The deposits everyone we booked are all paid for with my money. I finished money I'll be getting back since there won't be a wedding, unless you're still planning to marry someone who's technically already married." He put his head in his hands. "I've been such a fool." "Yes," I agreed, but gently now. "But your family, and unlike some people, I understand what that really means." My phone buzzed again, multiple messages flooding in as the story spread from Aunt Catherine. "Oh my God, Emma. We had no idea about any of this from Uncle Robert coming to the club. Now don't let David do anything stupid." From various family members. "Did you see Vanessa's Instagram? Is it true what's happening?" And finally, one from Vanessa herself. "You vindictive, you've ruined everything." I show the last message to Gerald, who raised an eyebrow. "Miss Williamson seems to be confused about who ruined what." "Indeed," I said. Standing up, "Gerald, thank you for dinner. I trust you handle the club membership situation appropriately," N noted grimly. "Zero tolerance for fraud," as I said. "And Emma, that acquisition proposal, let double the investment. I like working with people of integrity." I gathered my things, pausing to look at David. "Family dinner on Sunday." He looked up, eyes red. "You'd still want me there? Your family," I repeated, "but this time, we keep a guest list actual." Family members. The next few weeks were interesting. Vanessa's social media empire crumbled as the truth came out. Her followers didn't appreciate being deceived, especially about something as significant as marital status. James Williamson, it turned out, had been trying to contact her for months about finalizing their divorce properly. David moved back home temporarily, working through his embarrassment and betrayal. Aunt Catherine and Uncle Robert apologized profusely for not seeing through Vanessa's manipulation sooner. The wedding vendors refunded my deposits without question. Apparently they'd had their own issues with the bridezilla. 3 months later, I sat in my office reviewing a new contract. The River Oaks Country Club wanted to retain my services as their primary legal counsel. Gerald Harrison's recommendation carried significant weight. My new assistant knocked on the door. "Miss Taylor, your cousin is here to see you." David entered looking more like himself than he had in months. "Hey, Emma, I brought lunch." He held up bags from our favorite deli as we ate. He updated me on his life, a new job, therapy sessions, a renewed appreciation for genuine relationships over Instagram. Worthy ones. He was healing, learning, growing. "You know what," I realized he said, halfway through his sandwich, "that scar you have, it's not just a mark from an accident, it's a testament to survival, to resilience." Vanessa couldn't see that, because she was too focused on appearances. I couldn't see it because I let her blindness become mine. I touched my scar, thinking about all it represented: loss, survival, strength, family. Sometimes I said that the most beautiful things in life aren't photogenic at all, like justice. He suggested with a small smile, like truth, I corrected, and real family bonds, and the knowledge that when someone shows you who they are, you should believe them the first time. That evening, I updated my own social media for the first time in months, a simple post showing my law firm's new partnership announcement with River Oaks Country Club. The photo showed me, scar and a shaking hands with Gerald Harrison. The caption reads, "Success is the best filter. Ja filter needed. Ja." And truth wins. Vanessa, last I heard, had moved to another state, trying to rebuild her influencer career under yet another name. But her carefully curated image would always carry a scar now, the kind that no filter could hide. As for me, I kept the documentation of the whole incident filed away in my office, not for revenge or leverage, but as a reminder that sometimes the most important cases we handle aren't in courtrooms, but in standing up for our own worth. My scar catches the light sometimes when I'm presenting cases in court or closing major deals. I no longer think of it as a flaw to be hidden, but as a reminder that survival leaves marks, and those marks tell our stories. Some stories aren't pretty or perfect or Instagram-worthy, but they're real, and in the end, that's worth more than all the filter photos in the world.